if this is more sport, then I'm gonna be in this kind of patty cake position, right? Horrible idea for the most part if this is self-defense or this is MMA, because like he can reach me with all of his limbs and my head is pretty exposed. I'm gonna have to do this and that's not gonna be beneficial to me at all. So it's better, depending on what the distance is and how I gauge that, if I start from more of a supinated position like this. When I'm in the supine position, things that I want him to see, regardless if this is sport or self-defense, is he wants to see the opposite of what I wanna show him. What I wanna show him is I want him to see the bottom of my feet. I want him to see retracted knees that create approximately a V shape. I want my arms drawn in like this here, and I want, you know, something like a 90 or less degree bend in my legs. So what does that mean he wants to see? He wants to see the tops of my feet where my shoelaces would be, because that means he can like grab those better and move those around better. He wants to see an L shape of my legs, because that's his passing opportunity in a lot of different ways when we start looking at guard passing, right? And he wants my legs to be overextended, because from here my core is disengaged and it's easier for him to manipulate my legs, right? So again, we're just reverse engineering what I want to show him versus what he wants to see. If I do need to get myself back to a vertical position, then there's ways that I can accomplish that. I can do it independent of connection to him, right? But I still need, for that to happen, I need to create space. So the way I'm going to create space, the easiest way is to use my feet as space makers. So as he's approaching, if he's leaning over, I can kick up and everything like that. I can kick him in the balls, that's fine. I can kick at knees, which tends to be fairly effective because he's going to be presenting one or both knees. If both knees are presented to me, I can stomp either leg that I want to stomp here. If he's bladed, right, I probably want to double my efforts on one leg. Not overcommitting like this. I'm stomp and retract here, just to create a little bit of space. I don't have to buckle his leg. If I break his leg, that's fantastic. It's not going to happen though. Now I'm going to post up on my elbow first and retract my hip, and then eventually get to here. Every time that I'm creating verticality, that's a word, then I'm also creating space and distance between us, right? So as I'm coming up though, I want to have some kind of like reinforced protection in case he closes that distance faster than I expected him to here, right? So I'm either covering my head or even framing here. Both have pros and cons to them. I prefer this. If he closes the distance just absolutely too fast, then it's okay for me to retreat back to here. Again, I'm going back to a place that I can operate from. So again, I've posted up here now, right? And again, I'm gonna go back and repeat that process. I'm gonna throw a kick from here. I think that one of the better kicks to throw from this position personally is this lifting, kind of more of a pendulum style kick, because I can load my hip up and create that pendulum kind of effort behind it, and it's more thrusting. Nothing wrong with these necessarily, these inside kicks, but this is pretty weak, right? It's just like a hip that's doing that. It's not the full thrust of that pendulum action, right? So now I'm kicking to here, and off the retraction, not only am I retracting this leg all the way back to create a pyramid structure that still have good base, but I'm sliding this leg back at the same time. When I come up, I get this kind of 3-point stance like this. What this does for me is like it creates a good structure that if he crashes the distance, I can withstand a tackle or withstand him like crashing in on me. But also, when we get up, if I want to re-engage, I can shoot and spring off that back leg, right? So we have both of those things that we can accomplish with that. Cliff Notes version. As we're here, whatever's presented to me, that's what I'm gonna stomp. Again, bottom of my feet are facing him, my knees are retracted, my arms are drawn in. I'm gonna kick and stomp whatever I can to create space, post on the elbow, retract the hip, get to the hands here. Covering the head here, again, kick, whatever's available. I like that pendulum kick, and then slide as we come up. Create this 3-point structure. We're gonna talk about this pyramid structure a lot today. So this is one of the first times it's really being introduced. And then as we come up, hands are immediately up so that we're back into the fight from a standing vertical position, okay? The problem exists though whenever I'm trying to make that space and he collapses the space faster than I can create it functionally, right? So what does that look like? So as Cash is approaching and he gets me too bunched up here like this, now, he may be giving me different targets or whatever, but like I'm not gonna be able to like really effectively target his knees or anything. So I have to think about things in a little different terms. But when he gets this close, he gives me new, potentially new kinds of things that I can do. So one of the things, and oftentimes the guy's approach, he's gonna be bladed to some extent. One foot's gonna be more in front of the other. So I'm gonna take inventory of that and start looking for a sweep. I think that sweeping from this position is probably a much more beneficial way to get yourself back to standing, because he's going down and I'm coming up, versus he's already up and I'm trying to come up too. Once he's this close, again, my knees were retracted, so even if he is trying to get a hold of my feet or whatever, he's still gonna have a difficult time accomplishing a lot with it. So I wanna try to get a hold of whichever leg is closest. And if neither one are close, we'll talk about that in a minute too. But I want to get a hold of whichever one is close. This arm is still a defensive measure. It's still an obstacle in our way in case he wants to reach me, hit me, anything like that, right? From there, on the same side that I'm grabbing the ankle, I'm going to place my foot, laces out, heel in, like this, because it matches the shape of his hip crest here. Now, I've got all the leverage I need to be able to sweep him. The problem is going to be, though, if I push and pull, he's just going to pivot on that leg here. He's going to set a kickstand back there. So I want to prevent that from happening, so I'm going to use my second leg to hook behind this one. There's pros and cons to going too high or too low. I like to go somewhere around the calf personally. I think that that's a good spot. I'm holding the ankle. I'm specifically using a 5-finger over grip like this. We'll talk about the difference in the C-clamp grip versus this monkey kind of grip later. But my forearm is on top of his foot. My heel is in, so my foot's on his hip, and this one's hooking back. I'm gonna push with the leg, pull to some extent on this foot, and pull to some extent, mostly just block with this second foot. As he falls, most normal humans are gonna fall this way because I stretched this leg on the sweep. Now, knowing that, again, I'm posted here, elbow, knee here, right? Now, if we race to see who gets up fastest, right? Someone say 1, 2, 3, go, and we're gonna see who gets up fastest. I'm gonna win every time, right? Because I cheated. This is a great sweep. This sweep works at all levels. Like, I sweep black belts with this sweep to this day. They're not as often as like white belts, obviously, but it still works. If he wants to counter this, one of the best counters that he can do when I'm this deep into it is for him to do an outside crescent kick, right? So he kicks forward and unhooks his foot and steps back, right? Now, if he just tries to pull his foot directly back, he's just gonna trip himself and make my sweep easier. So he has to unhook it this way, that way here, okay? We call it the fish hook principle, and I'll discuss that in more detail sometime. We got here like this. So if he does that, boom, here, and be like, hey, can I have your leg back so I can sweep you? And he might give it, you know? Probably not. So he steps back. I still have this connection though. So I'm gonna use that connection to pull myself to that side, like I'm trying to pull my head toward his leg. And now I reestablish connection with this hand, shift the foot up to the hip, and then if I need to scoot forward, I can reestablish here. So now we're doing the same thing, just on the other side. So now we can turn it into a drill where as I start to push pull, he crescent kicks out, and I reestablish, right? Now I get this, I push pull, he reestablish, yep, go ahead, kick out, here. So we just keep moving like this. And so now I'm constantly looking to reestablish that connection, and I'm not too crestfallen whenever he kicks out. So again, here, I've got these two attachments. I'm blocking his foot here. I'm hooking back here. I push, pull, boom, this way. As I come up, I'm still combing my hair back though, because either intentionally or accidentally, this leg might come into the equation and I don't want to get knocked out, right? So now I retract that leg to the knee. I pick the foot up here so it's in front of my face. And as I come to standing here, I'm gonna be a little nitpicky about how we pass this, because I don't like to ever cross my center line if I can help it. It's usually a bad idea in fighting. Every modality of fighting. So instead, I'm at center line, I'm gonna scoop and pass. So I step to the outside, right? Now I've won this space. If I do this, I haven't won a whole lot. He's got all of his weapons in my way. But if I scoop to the outside, now it's a little harder for him to get his legs back in front of me. Before, I can establish like a knee on belly or slide over to mount, or just disengage and get the hell out, right? So that's kind of the mentality of whenever I get to that standing position, I want to scoop and step, not step, lunge. There's a difference. And for terminology's sakes, that matters sometimes. A lunge is where you take the leg that's in front and move more in front. A step is where you take the leg that's in back and put it in front of the one that's in front, right? Okay, that seems like, well, yeah, no shit. But for terminology's sakes, it's kind of important. Let's try it, guys. 1, 2, 3.